Tina.
Hey, hey.
We back for another one, girl.
Yes, we made it. We made it.
You said it as if we barely made it.
We did. We barely
Yeah.
made it. But we're here. We're here.
We
Praise
are
God.
here. We are here. Amen. I don't know about you, but I had a therapy session this week and it was very much so needed. And so I am ready for the rest of this week. Is it? Yeah, today is Sunday. So today is the first day of the week. So I am ready for this week. But that therapy session was right on time. And I don't know about you, Tina, but this has definitely come up in my therapy session. So I figured it would be a perfect topic for us to be able to talk about when
Okay.
it comes to our reintroduction, and that is reintroducing ourselves and talking about the church girl persona. You ready for this one, Tina?
Okay.
Let me try that one again. You ready for this, Tina?
Yes, yes, I can do this.
That was good. I like it. We're ready. We're in this. Well, I want to talk about it from a different perspective because I think we provide two different kind of, I won't say worlds, but two different ends of a spectrum of what it could be like for a quote unquote church girl. So, as I mentioned before, is Tina's the churchier one of the two of us. But my family, especially like my mom and us, we were always in the same place often. We moved around a lot. So I didn't always have a quote unquote stable church home, even though I have a very strong faith base. So a lot of and I think we mentioned this in the last episode, a lot of what I grew up with in terms of like church girl and that experience really was like passed down from my mom and from the women in my family, even the men in my family, in terms of expectation. And that shows up a lot in wholesome culture. Tina, did we not hear all the time? Oh, you're the good girl. You
Yeah, we
gotta
did.
be the good girl.
Yeah.
It takes so much out of determining who you are as an individual by just falling into that wholesome good girl experience. And while it is good teaching and being able to create healthy boundaries, it didn't really allow for us to develop what those are. It set those parameters for us. And so I'm excited for you to talk about what your experience was in being directly immersed in the purity culture because I got the residual of that. And I think one way that that definitely showed up for me was really being, dress. For me, I have never really been, I think I was really, really tiny when I was like in elementary. But as soon as I hit puberty, I about 7, 13, like my hips came in. I mean, they did not lie. And it became really hard to dress just like a little girl. You're in that tween stage. You things just don't fit right. You're not quite a teenager per se or a young adult, but you're like not a kid anymore. And so you figure out kind of like where you land in between there. And a lot of that showed up in purity culture. I remember one time we had finished watching Selena, and of course, Selena's mom taught a little bitty girl how to do the washing machine, right? Here I am, like 13 years old. We're going walking to the car, and I, just got inspired by Selena, and I just started doing the washing machine. And I was, I couldn't do the washing machine. Why? Because of my body type. I couldn't do it because I have the hips. At that time, I did have big boobs. Like, and even still now, I still have big boobs. I don't know what I said back then, but they were already there. But it, it, it gives you, it gives you this sight of your own body that isn't really healthy. And it creates the stereotype of being the fast girl. You could be doing nothing. And because of your body type, and because they're trying to just stick you in this box of being a wholesome girl, you can't dress fast, you can't act fast, you can't even talk fast. Like, there are things that happen around not only the wholesome culture, but around our culture. And it just creates these unhealthy boundaries of determining what's good for you, or determining what's right for your path. And so, again, clothes was another big thing. I never felt like I had clothes that fit me right and that were like in style. You know how you always buy like a size up for a kid because they're going to grow. Well, I wasn't growing. I've been the same height since I was like 11 years old. But my clothes had to be a lot bigger because I had to be a wholesome girl. And because I couldn't show off what I had no like choice on what I had. And so it gave me a complex about my body type. And it took me a really long time. And through therapy, I've been able to love my body and who I am, and what I feel comfortable with and what I understand to be wholesome. One of the things that when I was just kind of researching and kind of putting together the details for our topic today, Tina, when I was looking up wholesome, honestly, one of the biggest things that it talks about is health and wellness. I'm like, wait, what? This isn't even the
Really?
definition. This isn't even the definition of it. And then when I like look to like Urban Dictionary and things like that, to kind of speak the language that we speak, it only talks about wholesome girl.
Mm,
Only wholesome girl. And so it's a
interesting.
yes, 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 yes. And so you have again this complex that is putting the weight on. I already know where you're going with your face, Tina. I already know. And so I'm just gonna segue. That was my experience with the wholesome girl, with being that in-between girl, with not being full church and straight in purity culture, but still having that weight put on just me. And so I'll turn it over to you, Tina, and you can tell.
Yeah, that actually was the
That's
perfect segue, actually. So, yeah, my story, I was raised in church. I almost want to say born and raised because I lived at that church. I think my mom started taking me when I was like 2. So,
wow, yeah.
yeah, I was raised in church. And I love church. So, I'm starting off with I love the bride of Christ. I love the church. We just have some work to do. To Tanisha's point, wholesome culture, wholesome girls. It ties right into purity culture. Um, I remember, like Tanisha, I wasn't ever really small either. I think I've just always been a big girl. Like, so I remember I was in a like short set. My mom tried to, dress me appropriately, and I feel like she did. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember we were at the gas station. I was in like this short set, and it looked like it was for a child because I was a child. And she told me later, like this man was staring at me, and what made him stop was the fact that I started skipping to the car. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
that
A
is, yeah,
child.
a child. You're staring at a child because
Wow.
my body doesn't obviously look like a
Right.
child's, but I am a child. And the only reason
Right.
you were even keen to that was because I started skipping. So, I've never been little either. And when I was in college, I attended this church, and I don't know if y'all remember these, but they were called gaucho pants. And they
Don't
were,
age us, Tina. Don't age
I know. If you don't know what that is, they're really loose pants, but they're fitted, so they fit on your body. And I wore those one Sunday, and I actually was like spoken to by the choir director, and she was like, "Hey, don't wear those anymore. They were clinging to your legs." And I'm like, seriously? Like,
Everything cleaves to my legs.
yeah, I mean, the thighs are here. The thighs are thighin'. Like they're here. They're not going
They ain't
anywhere.
dying, huh? They ain't dying.
They,
They dying, but they ain't dying.
that's funny. I like that.
Y'all don't steal that. Y'all don't take that.
But I came to the realization I'm never going to be a size 2, and
Yep.
I'm okay with it. The church and its harmful rhetoric and ideologies and narrative around Black women's bodies, it's disturbing to say the very least.
Yeah.
In the church and in purity culture, they seem to make you feel as though your body is only meant as a temptation tool, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
only
That's good.
you got to
That's
cover it
right.
up because it's going to cause your brother to stumble. And as I've grown up, I've started to think differently about my body and its purpose, because it's not just for the male gaze.
The male gaze. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although I get it if you want to gaze at it, but it's not only
I
for.
mean,
I mean, but that's not its sole purpose. I do feel like the church has failed Black women, and they have weaponized scripture against us so much that it has caused us to view our bodies differently when there's nothing wrong with the way our bodies were created.
Yep.
And the fact that, you could look up wholesome and only find wholesome girl, that's
Ain't no wholesome
problematic.
boy. There was nothing that stated wholesome boy, wholesome
That's
young
so
man. Yeah.
problematic, y'all.
Yeah.
Because how do you guys expect us to come together as a community
Yep.
if you're teaching us two different things from
Yeah.
birth?
Yeah. 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 I mean, as the only girl of two brothers, like the conversations, like my parents had conversations with all of us, but the type of conversations that you have with your young girl or with the ladies, like it's completely different. That language is based in being fast and how you present yourself and all it's how you right do things, how you dress, and how you walk out of the house. But it's like, what are we saying to these young men of how they present themselves, right? Like, what are we saying of how they treat young girls, how they should not be gawking, and teaching them that a woman's beauty is not only for them. Like we deserve space the same way that young men deserve space.
Right.
And like being able to teach our young girls that and teaching our young boys that same level of conversation, it's vital. Like it's truly vital. And I
I
think
completely agree.
I almost believe that this next generation, I feel like the conversations have gotten a little bit better, but you still have so many of people from our generation that still have that same mindset. And it's hard when we're dating. You know what I mean? Like it's hard when you yourself are healing, you're in therapy, and you meet another young man that he was born in 1986 as well. And he's never been to therapy. And he's not hearing the other side of this. He's not seeing the other side of this. So how do you deal with that when it comes to coming together as a partner?
Right.
It's tough.
And who's it tough on?
Us.
Us. It's funny because
Yeah.
I was doing a training on boundaries this past couple of weeks at work,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that they brought up about ethics was boundaries, and how when you're younger, you're taught these boundaries, but as you grow older, you begin to develop your
Yeah,
own boundaries.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what makes it tough at a workplace,
Yeah,
because everyone's bringing a different set of boundaries to an organization.
absolutely.
And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing in real life in dating. Everyone has these different boundaries
That's
because
good.
we were
Yeah.
all kind of taught differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the struggle. The struggle is, finding someone who believes in the same tenets as you, the
Yeah.
same principles, who carries those same principles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's the tough part, because again, we're coming together with young boys who, they weren't taught purity culture anything. They weren't taught
Yeah.
wholesome anything. They weren't taught
Mm-mm.
holiness anything. Like, they don't
Mm-mm.
care about any of that. But that's the things, those are the things that are running through our minds like
Yeah.
24/7. Like,
Yes.
this is dirty, this isn't right, this
How do I
is a
present
sin.
myself? Yep.
Right, right. Can I go out in this? Like, we had a whole conversation last week about
Yeah.
cleavage. And we were
Yes.
like, should we get on this call with cleavage? Like,
I was like, can I do that? And here's the thing. Again, this runs in my family. Again, I did not ask for any of this. It is hard for me to not have cleavage. I have to try. Like, this is pulled all the way up. Me.
And
But
it's
yes.
today, I was like, you know what? I'm standing in solidarity with you. I came with
And
the
then here I
cleavage
am with
today. And she's like,
turtleneck.
she has her dress all the way up to her neck. It's like, pull that down.
it's it's funny, we were kind of in that part of the conversation, and I guess this is a reintroduction, and I did say we in dating. So
You did.
and you were surprised that it didn't come up last time,
I
but I
was.
guess
I was.
but I guess I can do in our reintroduction. We both are single. I am no longer married. So if you are what part of the old Side-eye crew, um, I was married right towards the end of our recordings. And I have been divorced for almost 2 years, separated for three. So I have lived a whole new life since we recorded Side-eye Chronicles. And it's honestly for the best. And I feel like I've learned so much even from that, but also in re-entering into the dating world. Um, and again, figuring out how to love my body in every aspect, in every state. And figuring out, being a wholesome wife is one thing, but when you are 30 something back out and dating, it's like kind of different. It's like, who am I? Who do I present myself with? So it goes back to, what are the things that I learned? What part of that was true to who I am, or what part of it is almost like doctoring, you know what I mean? Like, what part of it is actual doctrine. So when you were talking about the boundaries and what we have to do in terms of, I hate to use the word reprogramming ourselves, but we have to understand who we are, right? And what that experience, what those cultures created in us, and really look at what our relationship is to our bodies, what our relationship is to relationships, and dating, what that actually looks like, even when it comes to our sexuality. Like, that those conversations are tough, you know what I mean, with ourselves, let alone with, our parents, let alone with even a lot of times with our friends, especially again if we've known each other for as long as we have, and it's like, wait, can we talk about this? Like, do we? Like, is this okay? And again, we've known each other for years. So, we've gone from, our times and our conversations going from like, oh my God, did you kiss him? Did you what? Oh my gosh. To wait, what?
You did
That's
what?
all you need to know. Wait, what? It's the pause for me. But it really is. And, we talked about this a lot. If you are new, there are people who may be watching that have met me post divorce, and I remind people like, yes, I was married. But I remember one of the hardest things, and I think we talked about this on Side-eye Chronicles too, is having to switch that on and off. Like that was really tough. Like there's so much shame when it comes to sexuality and owning your sexuality, right? And not just being sexually active, but like, again, like owning your body, being comfortable in your body in the way that it was created. And so being able to like go from being shamed and exposing it, right? To then being like, oh, it's fine. Like just turning it on, right? And being able to be, a freak in the sheets for your husband. And that is not like that's not an easy process to go, to go from one aspect to another. And so I'm not saying parents should teach their children in terms of just being just kind of out there, but I think that there is an important language around owning who you are, right? And in not expecting like your child. Like I remember this actually came up at my birthday party this past year, and you were like, I ain't getting into that. With my parents. And I was like, you just can't send a kid out there who hasn't dated someone off to college. And like they're supposed to have their first boyfriend at 18. Like you haven't had experiences in setting boundaries in a controlled space, but now you're in an uncontrolled space and you've got all this freedom and space. Like you've got to be able to kind of build up on that instead of just being exposed into the world. And I feel like that is absolutely the truth when it comes to like owning your sexuality and moving from that purity or that wholesome culture directly into marriage. It's definitely tough.
And what's wild for me is that I feel like this is why so many women are single in the church, because they
Mm-hmm.
do kind of have you. We've talked about this on Side-eye Chronicles. You do kind of have to shut down your sexuality. You have to,
Absolutely.
in church, you got to shut it down, cover yourself up, and don't have no
Yep.
urges ever. And
Yep.
what? That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It don't make no sense at all. And then, okay, so I told y'all, born and raised in church, right? I keep seeing this cycle happen, right? Let me tell you what this
Mm-hmm.
cycle is. The cycle is up here. Initially, it was Jezebel's. Oh, she's a Jezebel because she's too sensual. She's too
Mm-hmm.
feminine. She's too
Yep.
much of a lady, right? And that's alluring, and that's luring men into the trap of hell. I don't know. It's sex. It's not hell. Calm down. So we go from Jezebel, right? And then we move into this independent woman culture,
Yep.
Destiny's Child, whatever you want to call it. And they're complaining about that from the pulpit.
Yep.
Women are too masculine. They're too manly. They're too independent. They don't need men anymore. And that's why you're single. And it goes in a circle. Like we go
Yeah.
back to Jezebel, then we go to independent again and masculine and manly, and then
Yeah.
back to Jezebel. And I'm like, okay, y'all just y'all have to
Yeah.
stop. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is getting out of control. If you tell women that they're Jezebels for being women,
Mm.
how are you going to complain when they
Yeah.
completely shut down and become these? And I'm not saying any women in church are masculine,
Yeah.
but how do you complain when that happens, and
Right.
now you have a bunch of independent women who are in church with their own everything and saying they don't need a man because that's what you kept pushing,
Mm.
and now you don't like it, and that's why she's
Yeah.
single. But you told her to do that, right? So it's been a ride to watch. I chose to get
Yeah.
off of the ride.
You're like, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done with
Let me
this
take a
roller
moment.
coaster. But yeah, I feel for the single women in the church because
Yeah.
it does seem like there's no empathy there. There is
Mm.
no sensitivity.
Yeah.
It's always pick, 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 pick.
Yeah.
And it always has something to do with their bodies.
It's interesting, guys. I feel like we've had this conversation, honestly, at different levels, or maybe not at different ages, throughout our lives, but especially throughout different stages of our adulthood. And it's interesting. I don't think our perspectives have really changed, but I love that our conversations and our understanding and even our grace has evolved for ourselves and for each other, and how we look back at that time, but then also how we move forward. And that part I'm
Well,
grateful
and
for.
I'll be honest, some of my perspectives have changed. Because again, it's like what you said. Is this doctrine or is
Mm,
this just, something that
yeah.
they just wanted to say? And I have found that I was living under it wasn't doctrine. I don't know what to call it, like churchisms. I don't know.
Well, that's good. We'll put that.
Okay. I was living under churchisms, for instance,
Yeah.
shacking up. Now, shacking isn't in the Bible at all, but I have several married friends that are like, "Whew, yeah, y'all need to live together before you get married." And I'm like, "Huh, really? Why would you say that?" And these are church girls. They're like
Yeah.
me. And I was like, "Why would you say that?" Because you need to know who he is before y'all get married.
Facts on facts on facts on facts.
Facts, no printer. Because the reality is this: until you live with somebody, I have a friend. She got married. She said her husband didn't do a particular. He didn't do something before they got married, and
Mm-hmm.
now that they've been married, he does it all the time. And I was like, "That's interesting." And she goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Huh? Do you feel like this was a tactic to marry you, like to get you, to get you,
Mm-hmm.
or
I get you.
to get you?"
Oh God.
Or is this who he always was? You just weren't always there, right? Like I wonder
Yeah.
if she had lived with him, would she
Yeah.
have seen that
Yeah.
beforehand? And would that have changed whether she wanted to be with him or not?
Right. Right. Right.
Who knows? But I don't think so personally. But it's interesting to me because I look at something on a smaller scale. I'm
Right.
not a morning person, right? I can fake the funk with a text. If you text me at 6:30, good morning, beautiful. Hope you have a great day. I will
Yeah.
text back and be like, oh, giggle, giggle, you too. Like, hee hee. Uh-huh.
Not the
Giggle,
giggle,
giggle. But if you're here with me, you'll see. I'm like, don't even look at me until at least 9:45.
Facts, y'all. And please understand, I am the morning person of the friendship.
She is.
She has indeed looked at me with that face.
And I
Her
don't even
and
have to
her
say
wig.
nothing. I would just be like,
You hear what I said? Her and her wig.
true. It's all true. I wouldn't be able to fake that, right? But if we got
Mm-hmm.
married, not that it's a big deal, but if we got married,
Right.
like, and then in the morning you're like, hey, da, 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 da. And I'm like, don't.
Does she hate me? Does
Right,
she?
right.
That
All of a
first
sudden,
morning after is like, wait, does she hate me?
she's changed already. It's like, no, I haven't. Like, This is who
Yeah.
I always was. I can just fake
Yeah.
it in a text, right? I can't fake it
Right.
face to face. So I'm rethinking like living together before marriage.
Yeah.
I think it's smart. I think it's a wise decision to make, especially
Mm-hmm.
if you're saving
Mm-hmm.
money too. Oh my goodness. Don't get me started on
Uh, a coin. A coin.
a bag, saving a bag.
Absolutely. No, it's true. You have to really do that reevaluating on every aspect when it comes to how those cultures impacted you. You know what I mean? Like not just the surface things in terms of attire, in terms of how you view sexuality, but also when it comes to, how you move in life. I think one of the dopest things that I've seen, like witnessed from you, Tina, in your growth, I don't even know if you consider this, but the fact that when we were talking about, you're like, well, what are you about to say? But we were talking, you were tired of paying rent and you were like, I want to get a house, but like, what happens like if I meet somebody? And I'm like, you either sell your house, he either moves it with you, or like there are options. And watching you go through the process of like buying your home, and it's like this is the life that you've worked for, right? Your life doesn't start when a man walks into it, right? So the fact that you were able to like release even that ism, right? That you were able to like have this new space, you got a dog out of it, you know what I mean? Like you weren't gonna have a dog in an apartment. Like so the fact that you were even able to grow from that aspect, we have to remember to do the work, right? To do the evaluating of what has been that experience and what truly is your life, what is your belief, what is your understanding, and what is how will you actually live your life for God? Because it all comes back to that, right? Like you are processing all of this experience through someone else's lens, through someone else's view, and it's like, but wait, what is God telling me? What conviction am I getting? Like what does he tell me in that quiet time? And so like we need to move from that understanding through someone else and really just based on him.
Right. Love it. I love that. Absolutely.
I,
And I
I
love that, you noticed that because I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, the reality is in church, again, that was the confusing part because there was always a cycle. So it was
right.
like, don't get a house, wait for
Yeah.
this man so that he can provide what you need. And then it
Mm-hmm.
was get a house. Boaz saw Ruth working. So you need to be working and you need to have your own this and that and the other. And then it went back. It just went back and forth,
Right.
and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna get a house.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start living for myself until he gets here because
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the time it is us women just waiting on a man before we and this is something I talked about in my therapy sessions, before we
Yeah.
begin to live. My friend and I, we went to Vegas was it last year? Last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to my therapist before I went because I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I should go on this trip. It's just me and her. And what if they kidnap us? People are out here trafficking women. What's
Oh,
gonna happen?" And
yeah.
she was like, "No, go and enjoy yourself. What do you mean? Go have a good time. Go love
Mm-hmm.
on yourself. Take care of yourself." And create these expectations for when that man comes
Yeah.
into your life. Because if you don't know
Amen.
what you enjoy before he gets here, you're not going to know when he does.
And
And then you
take
won't
take
be
it from
able to
me. Do it. Do it.
you won't be able to share what you enjoy and what you like
Yep.
if you haven't lived your life yet, waiting for him.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
do that. Go live your life. And we had a great time in Vegas. Yes, it's Sin City. I know. I know where we were. I gambled too. And I won
Oh,
until I lost.
okay. I part. That is hilarious. But
Yeah.
yes, we have to remove ourselves from the strongholds of those isms, you know what I mean? And move into the life that he has called for us. We have to be able to enjoy the life that he's given us. And the enjoyment happens before we meet our partners, our lifelong partners. Because please believe, Tina was very surprised when I said this, but I will get married again. And it will be my second and final husband. Not because I ain't doing it again, but because it's gonna be the real thing. It's gonna be the real thing. And so we enjoy life before our partners, and we will enjoy a new chapter and a beautiful life once we meet them. And so we gonna shake these shackles off. Oh, okay, Mary.
Shake these shackles off. Shake these shackles off. Ooh.
That's a different song. I see what you did there, but that's a different song. But it kind of jammed up. I am so grateful that we were able to have this conversation and talk about it in our mid 30s. We're going to still stay with that. It might be fun like 10 years from now. I mean, there'll probably be some other platform, may not be YouTube, but it'll probably be something we like do with our skin or something, right?
No.
Or maybe a watch. Yeah, just like a hologram. A hologram pops up. But I would love to like see ourselves, right? 10 years from now and seeing how the conversation evolves even more, right? In our mid 40s and seeing what that thought process looks like, because we are ever changing. And the beautiful thing that I love about us is that not only are we ever changing, but we are all about making sure that we actually are bettering ourselves as we're moving towards those bigger ages, because my God, they're getting big. Well, y'all know, seriously, the last few episodes have been a reintroduction to our mindsets, what we've been in, what we've been talking about in our therapy sessions. And so we're super excited for you guys to continue the conversations. If you've been part of the Side-eye crew from the very beginning, reintroduce yourselves to us. Let us know what you've been up to over the last few years. How has the pandemic changed you? How has therapy changed you? What are the things that you've really been putting the work into to really better yourself? Have you been giving yourself grace? Have that conversation with yourself. Let us know, social media, in the comments. And, I cannot believe we did not tell the folks in the beginning. Do we need to tell them folks to subscribe?
Oh my goodness, we do? Y'all, please subscribe. Child, how we forget that? Will Chile, please subscribe.
Join the conversation. And please join us for our next episode. Tina, I cannot wait for this. We're going, even though it hasn't been heavy conversations, but we're going to have some fun next episode. You know why, Tina?
Why?
Because we're going to talk about some of our favorite genres
of
TV and movies.
And books.
And books. Oh, that's right. That's right, girl. And books. We enjoy a good horror. We enjoy a psychological thriller.
Mm-hmm. We are here for the psychological.
Really... I was going to tell it myself, but you gave it. And no. And no, your computer did not trip. No, your phone did not skip a beat. For those who are elder millennials, no, that was me trying to say psychological thriller. It's a tongue twister when you've had a long day at work and a glass of wine. I opted for water this time.
And you spoke so clearly today.
But we know we're gonna be come back. And even as before we put the episode out, let us know what some of your favorite horror movies, thrillers, true crime. Ooh, we enjoy a good true crime. And it can be podcast. I am a true girl podcast girl myself. I enjoy it. We enjoy it. Well, Tina, until next. Oh yeah, that was a little seductive. What was happening? I said true
What
crime, and you
happened?
said it. You said you gave him.
Oh,
It's a whole new version of side eye. You went to the side and gave him eye.
oh, were they bedroom eyes? Okay.
I don't know. Okay, never mind. But
It's getting
no,
dark over
join
here. Gotta
it
get some
is
light.
well. So join us next time where we're going to keep getting caught up in the rapture of therapy.
See y'all
Bye,
later.
guys.